Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What? No, it's nothing like that. We're working outside today, and I don't want to kill my little bald spot back there. A little sun protection. We have a 370Z. All right, so one of our viewers brought in his car. We're gonna upgrade the stereo in it. He's already got a 391 in the dash. He wants to go full active. He's already full active now on some cheap speakers. He's gonna add some new ones. Let's take a look and see what he brought. So right now he's doing network mode using the factory power in the radio. He's gonna upgrade to this Arc Audio 6-channel amp, as well as to some stereo integrity tweeters, these guys here, as well as a matching mid-range. So it's gonna be a hot one here today. So we're gonna start getting this car apart and figuring out if everything's gonna fit the way we want it to. Let's get started. Alright, so we have the amp board made. On the back side is where all the action happened. There's a bracket here, there's another bracket here, a couple holes. What's going to happen though is these two holes are the ones that matter. This is going to go into the car, bolt in place, and then we'll screw the amplifier on top of it. But for right now, what we want to do is attach the amplifier, get all the wire run, and then we'll separate the two, take them in the car and reattach them. So it just took a quick pause, which seemed like nothing for you guys. This is what he had in there, and this is what he's putting in there. We just made these quick mounts, and then of course extended out the wiring. I'm gonna hand these over to Fernando so that after he gets the doors done, he can go ahead and put these in. this customer, as we said, wants to do network mode, and so what we're doing is we're going to use the crossover caliber to set this up before we get it into the car. Just makes things a little bit easier. We have it hooked up to a battery here, running a tone generator app from the phone into the amplifier. Now he's already specified the crossover points he'd like, so we're going ahead and playing them on here, and we're adjusting it on this. For those of you that don't know how this tool works, so it's actually pretty easy to do. So you play the tone that you like from your source unit, and then you connect the positive speaker lead up to this unit as well as the chassis ground up to this unit. Play the signal, make sure the amplifier is set to full range, and go ahead and turn the unit on. So then you turn up the source unit and or the gain until the signal LED lights up. Once that's lit up, you can go ahead and click read. Now if the unit lights up red, then you have your source unit up too high and or the gain. So we'll go ahead and turn that down. Once the source light comes on, go ahead and select read. You're gonna have these two yellow lights and a blue light in the center. Go ahead and turn your high pass crossover on and then start adjusting the dial. You'll notice it'll go back and forth, and you just want to keep slowing it down until the blue light comes on. Once the blue light comes on, you've got your frequency that you want it crossed over at. And then repeat the process on all the other channels. We got the amplifier, it's all set and ready to go. I put some tape over all the controls so they don't get bumped or anything like that. It's screwed in place, there's a bolt here, there's a bolt there. So now Fernando is pulling out the radio so that we can go ahead and run this bundle of wires up to the front, this bundle of wires up to the front over there. Speakers are all in, that 6.5 one in here, tweeter one up there. How's it going?
Oh, it's going wonderful.
Isn't it hot?
Oh,
it's so hot. While you're working on this, I'm gonna take a quick break
really?
and work on that.
Oh.
I didn't say I was gonna stop working.
Oh,
I'm just gonna take a break from this car and go work on that car. That's a Maxima that we're gonna put an FM modulator in for an aux jack. All right, let's go check it out. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put in this here. This is the IS31 FM modulator. Now, what makes this different than, let's say, a transmitter is that you unplug the factory antenna, which is what this is showing you here. When you turn this on, this severs the antenna's connection, so it forces this radio station as the only radio station in the car. What we have to do now is get this guy out here and get behind the unit so we can get to the FM antenna. Now this unit has two channels to pick from, 87.9 and 88.3. I always just leave it on 87.9. Now luckily, even though I pulled these two top screws, I don't actually have to pull the radio out. I can reach up behind and unplug the FM antenna. Alright, so once we have our two adapters plugged in, we can go ahead and plug in the FM modulator. We're gonna get power from our cigarette lighter right here. So we just need to tap power and ground. You wanna make sure that, of course, your cigarette lighter turns on and off with the car. So the kit also comes with an on-off switch for the FM modulator. That's what this white plug is here. This is just gonna plug into it, and then you mount this flush somewhere. Now what I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on right now, and I'm gonna make sure that this thing is working before we go ahead and drill all those holes. First thing you wanna do is tune to the station. In this case, we want to tune to 87.9. And there you go. All right, so now we can go ahead and mount the switch and also mount his aux input. I always make a little cheat sheet and just set it here in the cup holder so that when they get in the car, they know how to use it. All right, we're done with this car. So back to the 370Z. All right, so while I was working on the Maxima, he managed to get the radio out. When he got the radio out, he noticed that he wasn't hooked up to the factory auxiliary, so it has a factory aux and USB here. So he went ahead and rewired the harness so that he'll get the factory aux. Right now, he's got this side panel apart here. He's getting this side run right here. Next, obviously, with that side. But of course, because I was away, he left a present for me on my workbench. The wiring harness. So now I'm gonna go ahead and work some magic on this guy and get it presentable. Alright, so our harness is done. His steering wheel controls, this will plug back into the wires he had. We went ahead and ran our ground. We'll go ahead and ground this behind the radio. The antenna's hooked up properly, and we have our pigtail output for our remote turn on. So the driver's side of the car is all set and done. The bass knob is in. This is where the customer wanted it, right here. He wanted it out of the way. There's no subwoofer in the car yet, so he's not even gonna be using it. Now what we got left is the passenger side. We have the harness in. This is where we grounded it right here to the frame rail. The RCAs, we used 12 footers and they just made it in. This little guy right here, this is telling us, because these are directional cables, Stinger now puts a flag on there to tell us what sides go behind the radio. You'll notice this zip tie right here. Some of these Nissans, for some reason, it's these are like almost too short, so they don't click in. So I like to put a zip tie on it just to make sure that it doesn't fall off. Now what I'm getting ready to do, there's a piece of foam that goes in here. It needs to be removable because it actually goes underneath these panels, so I have to get these panels back in, then shave it down so that it'll all go in nice and easy. All right, the time has finally come. Fernando is finishing wiring up the battery, just tightening up the fuse holder. So now we're gonna do the DD1 as well as polarity check all the speakers, get this thing out of here, sit in some air conditioning for a while. So the gains are set, polarity's checked and all good. So now we're gonna take a little listen and see how it sounds. Alright, I must say that these sound really good. The tweeters are really, really loud. So what we had to go back and do is turn the gain down on the amplifier for the tweeters because, you know, the gain overlap, we had to turn them down. And it's not a passive crossover network, so there's no way to attenuate them. You attenuate them with the gain. So once we knew where the clip was, we could turn down from there to get them where they need to be level with the mid-range. He had this in ordering the car, so we went back and changed, you know, turned off all his crossovers and all that stuff, as you saw, so that it was just using the amps crossovers. With this deck, this is a 491, so you can't turn off the high pass crossover for the tweeter. There's no way to turn it off. But you can minimize it as much as possible so that it's actually really not doing anything and letting the amp do all the crossover. So the only thing we got left to do is put the cap on the amp. I'm gonna do that and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so there's the amplifier all tucked away. Got the foam piece, goes right back in over it. Stingray cover, and the 2 layers of carpet. Alright guys, the 370Z is done. It's hot, it's not been a real fun day, but hey, whatever. It sounds really good. On to the next one.